What's up, guys? Today we'll be taking a look at Federalist number 14, titled Objections to the Proposed Constitution from Extent of Territory, Answered, published by James Madison in November of 1787. In short, Madison's goal in this essay is to respond to the anti-federalist critique that the size of territory proposed to comprise the United States would simply be too large to feasibly govern. We shall find that Madison's response to this charge functions in many ways as a sort of sequel to Federalist number 10, which he, of course, also wrote. In fact, I argue that it is critical to understand number 10 in order to understand number 14. I, of course, cannot spend much time going over 10 again, so that is at your own discretion. In any case, let us begin. Right, so to start, Madison opens the essay by briefly recapping the previous 13 essays. He reminds us how a union is the best safeguard against both foreign danger and internal civil strife, as well as being the greatest guardian of an American commerce. Next, Madison introduces the argument he was going to refute, that the United States is too large to govern under one nation. You see, there was a prevailing belief at the time that a republican form of government must always be confined to a small geographic territory, a misconception which Madison means to summarily clear up. In Madison's eyes, the misunderstanding arises out of people confusing republics for democracies, and he distinguishes between them as follows. In a democracy, the people meet and exercise the government in person. In a republic, they assemble and administer it by their representatives and agents. A democracy, consequently, will be confined to a small spot. A republic may be extended over a large region. Essentially, Madison thinks that people have been playing fast and loose with identifying governments as democracies or republics. They call one the other and then mistakenly attribute the specific problems of the one to the both. Madison is arguing that what America is planning to do here is unprecedented and separate from the follies of the historical democracies of yesteryear. The proposed union is in fact quite novel because it explicitly makes Republican principles its founding basis. But to get back to the question of the extent of territory and governance, Madison says that, as the natural limit of a democracy is that distance from the central point which will just permit the most remote citizens to assemble as often as their public functions demand, and will include no greater number than can join in those functions, so the natural limit of a republic is that distance from the center which will barely allow the representatives to meet as often as may be necessary for the administration of public affairs. Right, so in a pure democracy, the traditional understanding of the term, the population directly meets and votes on each issue. Therefore, the territorial extent of a democracy ends where it's no longer possible for the farthest away citizen to meaningfully and consistently contribute. And in a republic, Madison seems to be hinting that the territorial size of a nation is capped at the point when elected representatives can no longer routinely participate in the federal government. Super quick footnote here. Modern commentators have correctly pointed out that technology has radically changed what is possible when it comes to travel and participation problems. We will discuss infrastructure development in a minute, but quick travel methods like planes or stuff like the internet has, according to the essay, greatly expanded the theoretical extent of the country. Naturally, you may very well ask, why not democratic values over Republican values then? And to that, I once again implore you to revisit Federalist number 10. It's imperative that you understand the broader project of the Federalist Papers and the reasoning behind it, especially as we navigate our own political future. Anyway, from here, Madison points out a few further considerations that paint the proposed Constitution in a favorable light. The first point he makes is that the Union would not eliminate the state governments. The federalism of the United States is somewhat of a historical quirk, you see. Simultaneous representation on both national and local scales, with each having exclusive powers and independent jurisdiction, is an oddity, but one that lends itself well to an extensive republic and assuages fears of complete centralization. Another thing to consider, Madison says, is the simple fact that there will certainly be improved roads, navigation, and communication attendant to union. And of course, this would make it even easier for representatives to meet and govern, strengthening the republic and theoretically expanding its practical confines, which would of course be second order to a philosophical commitment to certain republican values. Finally, Madison observes that although it's unfortunate that there must inevitably be states sending representatives at relative greater inconvenience from the farthest corners of the country to the nation's capital, those very same states are also the ones most in need of a union's financial and military support, as when Madison wrote this essay, they bordered foreign forces. Madison ends his essay with a final impassioned plea to the reader to support the Union and to reject the dark vision of those who wish to dispel any notion of a united America. I will read out a few of Madison's own lines. Why is the experiment of an extended republic to be rejected merely because it may comprise what is new? Is it not the glory of the people of America that whilst they have paid a decent regard to the opinions of former times in other nations, they have not suffered a blind veneration for antiquity, for custom, or for names, to overrule the suggestions of their own good sense, the knowledge of their own situation, and the lessons of their own experience? Had no important step been taken by the leaders of the Revolution for which a precedent could not be discovered, no government established of which an exact model did not present itself, the people of the United States might, at this moment, have been numbered among the melancholy victims of misguided counsels, must at best have been laboring under the weight of some of those forms which have crushed the liberties of the rest of mankind. Happily for America, happily, we trust, for the whole human race, they pursued a new and more noble course. They accomplished a revolution which has no parallel in the annals of human society. They reared the fabrics of governments which have no model on the face of the globe. If their works betray imperfections, we wonder at the fewness of them. If they erred most in the structure of the Union, this was the work most difficult to be executed. This is the work which has been new modeled by the act of your convention, and it is that act which you are now to deliberate and to decide. And with that, we have reached the end of Federalist number 14. What did you think of this essay? Going forward, we will see a major shift in focus. Federalists 1 through 14 all justify the existence of a union in one way or another, and we're about to move on to a set of essays instead detailing the deficiencies of the Articles of Confederation, the structure of government before our present Constitution. But until then, consider subscribing and leaving a comment. All right. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good one.